murder a liberator, but you can't murder liberation. You can murder a revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution. And you can murder a freedom fighter, but you can't murder freedom.
You're tapped in, so let's get right to it. So there's a chaotic situation brewing in the Strait of HORMUZ today, near the strait anyway. There are conflicting stories coming out of Tehran as well as Washington. The short answer to that is that Iran's IRGC claims that they fired up on and hit a U.S. Navy vessel, but the U.S. military, CENTCOM more specifically, has officially denied that any of their ships were struck. Now, we see that they neglect to mention whether or not shots were fired, however. Whether or not the ship was struck, truthfully, we don't know. Whether or not shots were actually fired, as Iran claims, we don't know. That information is yet to come out. As soon as it does, we will report upon it. But here's the breakdown of what is happening today, May 4th, 2026. The claims, at least from Iran's position, is that the IRGC aligned Fars News agency reported that Iranian forces fired 2 missiles at a U.S. Navy frigate near the port of JASK after it allegedly ignored warnings. Iranian state media claims the ship was forced to turn back. The U.S. position is, however, CENTCOM issued a direct denial saying or stating no U.S. Navy ships have been struck. They confirmed that 2 U.S. flag merchant vessels successfully transitioned the strait today and that U.S. destroyers are operating in the area. Again, there was no mention as to whether or not missiles were actually fired. They say none were struck. So you take it with a grain of salt. Again, we don't know whether or not Iran is telling the truth or the U.S. is telling the truth. But for the most part, a lot of us tend to think, or the consensus is, that the United States does say a lot of things that are not accurately true or factual. You know, they'll paint a different picture or spin narratives and propaganda to not or to deny anything that is actually taking place. If it doesn't fit Donald Trump's narrative, then we'll get a different briefing or a different statement regarding that story or whatever that story may be, especially if it comes from Iran first. But anyway, the direct conflict is that while denying any hits, again, U.S. officials did confirm a kinetic engagement. Now, what that kinetic engagement is really about, they're not going to say, but Admiral Brad Cooper, CENTCOM, stated that U.S. forces destroyed 6 Iranian small boats today, and they were attempting to interfere with protected ships, I guess, trying to navigate the American merchant ships attempting to navigate through the straits. But warning shots, in terms of warning shots, some Iranian officials have adjusted their language, claiming they fired warning shots to prevent American Zionist warships from entering restricted zones. All right. While it's clear that there was, let's say, some type of physical confrontation and the IRGC did fire weapons, the U.S. maintains their vessels were undamaged and continued operations. That being said, I want to bring in this clip so you guys can get a bar of this and what's being said in this clip. This is Times Now, courtesy of Times Now. Again, just to give us a little more verification, you know, or clarity in terms of what's actually taking place, because it seems to be that no matter what is happening, we're not getting the full scope or the truth in terms of what is taking place in the Strait of Hormuz. Now, that being said, I'm bringing this clip in. Before I do, again, please like, share, follow, comment, and subscribe to Tapped. That is the art of political discourse. We, as always, appreciate your participation and your viewership. This is the month of May, the 4th of May to be exact 2026. And so we're asking, to help us get these subs up, okay? Again, you guys' likes, shares, your follows, and subscriptions will be greatly appreciated. That being said, let's bring this clip up in here and let's see what they can enlighten us on. Let's see how this is going to turn out. All right. Again, this is Times Now World, courtesy of Times Now World.
Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has released a new map claiming expanded control over the Strait of Hormuz, a critical global energy choke point. The move comes amid rising tensions with the United States, signaling what appears to be a shift from implicit dominance to an explicit territorial assertion in one of the world's most strategically sensitive waterways. According to Iranian state media, the IRGC Navy has defined new operational boundaries, stretching from Mount Mubarak in southern Iran to waters off Fujairah in the UAE, and from Keshem Island to al-Quwain. Tehran describes this zone as being under the management and control of its armed forces.
The world would neither accept America's humanitarian gestures, nor would it believe that the US could exit this self-made quagmire. That has caused many problems for the region, for the US itself, and the international community, through repeating past mistakes.
The Strait of Hormuz connects the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman and the Arabian Sea, with Iran to the north and the UAE and Oman to the south. At just 33 to 50 kilometers wide at its narrowest point, it carries nearly 20% of global oil and LNG trade through tightly controlled shipping lanes, making any claim of control geopolitically explosive. Iran has reinforced its position, warning that security in the strait must align with its authority, while framing itself as the region's primary guarantor of maritime safety.
Ships and shipping companies well know that ensuring their security requires coordination with the competent authorities of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Iran remains the strait's guardian and protector.
The escalation comes as US President Donald Trump announced plans to deploy American forces to escort stranded ships through the strait, a move Iran has warned could trigger direct confrontation.
Iran will attack any foreign armed force that tries to approach or enter the strait, especially the aggressive US Army.
With thousands of sailors stranded and global energy flows at stake, the Strait of Hormuz is once again at the center of a high-risk geopolitical standoff, where competing claims of control could rapidly spiral into conflict.
Oh yeah, this thing is heating up, as I'm sure everyone realizes. So at some point, we can expect warfare again. And again, here at TAP, we predicted that it would not be a ceasefire, and if it was, it wouldn't last very long. We've been right so far. We're assessing the situation like this. It is not about nuclear weapons. It never had been about that. It was about hegemony in the area, in terms of Israel's hegemony in the area, Israel's control of the whole region. In order for that to happen, the United States had to come in as a partner to help Israel establish this authoritarian move in the region. Now it's went from nuclear weapons. Now it's a matter of, okay, the Strait of Hormuz being open to free and safe traffic for the world's consumption of fuel, oil, or gas. United States has said many times that the war was over. There was no need for this or that, that everything was taken care of, and that Israel had pretty much lost, submitted, or, conceded defeat. That's the opposite coming from Iran's point of view. Not only that, but anyone still in the area willing to assist the United States in their attempt to take control or open up the strait, irrespective of Iran's authority or perceived authority and protectorship over the strait. It has caused problems for those states. UAE, for one, just last week, they made the announcement that they would separate themselves from OPEC. Now, why that is occurring, what's behind that, we've yet to find out, or we yet to see. We don't know just yet. However, the UAE is making an attempt, it seems, to align itself with the United States and Israel over Iran and other oil producing countries over there. But this is going to also create a problem. So we maintain that what is going to happen is more war. The United States is not going to get their way in this respect. We don't think they're going to accomplish much. In fact, the price of gasoline, oil anyway, is continuing to go up, and people all over the world are suffering this increase in fuel, much of which the world needs to function on. Donald Trump, in his stubbornness, has resisted any attempts through or by Iran to find a medium, a middle ground or an off ramp to get out of this situation. He has allowed, or he has been fooled into taking. Israel, for whatever reason, convinced Donald Trump to go along with this fiasco of a war. It hasn't panned out for the U.S. It's already been a little more than 60 days since this thing has occurred. So much for it'll be over in 2 weeks. All right. This thing is going to continue, as far as we can tell, into next year. This is not an issue that's going to go away anytime soon. And again, it does not regard or concern, we think, nuclear weapons. This is about hegemony in the area and the resources that are attached to this area. So Iran is just a thorn in the side of Israel as well as the United States. It seems that the United States is on a foothold to try to lay claim or have some type of partnership with those countries who have the resources. For the United States, we think that they're doing it to thwart China and or Russia, making sure that they, well, not Russia per se, but China for sure, to make sure that China's hold on regions that provide resources that China needs just as much as the rest of the world will not suffice. China will suffer as a result. So we think this thing is being done to prevent China from having the resources it needs to continue its growth around the world. And everyone knows China is doing things around the world that the United States have not done, cannot do. It seems that they're not a trusted superpower. It seems more that every day is becoming to, it's looking like people are more willing, countries and governments are more willing to work with China than they are the United States, for reasons of fairness, one, trust, another. We think that is the reason. So United States, in its attempt to thwart again China from securing any type of resource in the region, they're going in with warfare, war machines and things of that nature, and intentionally slowing down the flow of the oil resources that are needed around the world. So this thing is going to play out in warfare. We're pretty sure of that. Now, how it affects China, well, when will China have enough of these antics by the U.S. and Israel has yet to be seen. But for sure, know that China has something of some type of blueprint on the table. They will act sooner rather than later. We think this month China will come out, not just in opposition to what the United States and Israel are doing, but they will come out as participants in this struggle over resources. That being said, we think they'll be sending ships. They'll be going in and out as they please, and would dare the United States to interfere with their business dealings with Iran, like they did pretty much with Venezuela. So this is something that remains to be seen. We're pretty sure it's going to play out in real time. We're going to know in the next week or two. We're going to know for sure what's really going to happen, or what will be taking place beyond the warfare. There's more to come. We're pretty sure that there's a lot more to come. We expect any day now for bombardment or the bombing of Iran's infrastructures to take place by Israel as well as the United States. We also do not expect for the EU or NATO countries to involve themselves in this conflict. As we all know or should know, the United States is doing a very good job of dismantling relationships with NATO and other EU countries. Just based on this war, they're upset. Well, the Trump administration is very upset that they are getting the support that they initially said they didn't need from these European countries. And now that they needed, these European countries are saying, we don't want to have anything to do with this. So it seems that, yeah, this is something that the United States and Israel are going to have to figure out with or without Iran, but they'll probably be better off if they just go and sit at the negotiation table and work out any differences. Again, this easier said than done. The United States has no real stake in this. We think it's all Israel. Israel's purpose, this whole thing, the purpose behind it is to get rid of Iran, to destroy it completely so that it does not, reemerge. This is what we think is taking place. They're trying to collapse not just the regime, but the whole country. And we'll see how that turns out in the next week or two. We say here that warfare will ensue pretty soon. The bombs will start dropping again. And it might be initiated because of this Strait of Hormuz issue that the United States is trying to control way in the Middle East. Okay. And Iran saying you don't have the authority over here to do that. So that being said, keep your ears open and your eyes wide open. All right. We'll be back with more. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other.
You can murder a liberator, but you can't murder liberation. You can murder a revolutionary, but you can't murder revolution.